Hi, welcome to Local Flavor. I'm Deborah Anderson, and I'm here today in Moreland at Aunt Faye's Community Kitchen. And we're gonna make something a little different. It's chicken parmesan, what everyone loves to order at the Italian restaurant, but we're gonna make it into a loaf and bake it instead of having to fry it and pound out the chicken. So, I'm gonna start, I actually saw this recipe in a magazine I was reading. It's an old one, but I get the Kraft Food and Family recipe book, and I love it for the ideas. But it came with a lot of things like using shake and bake and their canned sauces and stuff. So I just wanted to make it my own way. So that's what we're gonna do today. And I'm gonna start with a marinara sauce since it has to cook for about 30 minutes. So I've got about a quarter cup, 4 to 6 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil in here. And I'm going to put in about 1/3 cup of onion. Oh, I got that hot. Should cook a little faster. And I need a clove of garlic too. Now, this is fairly similar to any marinara pomodoro sauce that you're going to make. I chose it because when I found it, the lady who provided the recipe said that this was the only one her 5-year-old daughter would eat. And so I wanted to know what was, I thought it probably had sugar or something in it. But the secret ingredient was white wine. And I was like, oh, I hope your daughter is not already a wino because that's a pretty grown-up taste for a little girl. So that was pretty good. Anyway, I just modified it a little bit. But I kept the wine. That made it really special, I think. So I have taken the skin off of my garlic and I'm going to press it in. Just 1 clove, and then I always like to put a little bit of salt and pepper in just to help sweat it out. And it seems like more oil than you need, but it will be for the whole sauce. I put in a little, they say 4 to 6 tablespoons, I only put in about 4, so we can add some later if we need it. This is just plain salt and pepper. And while those sweat down a little, I'm going to measure out some of the other things that we need. Some people will prefer to blend the tomatoes so that they're smooth. I kind of like the fresh feeling you get from leaving them whole. So I just get the really petite diced ones so that they're nice and small. And for the seasonings, I need a teaspoon of dried oregano. I'm just gonna have these ready to go. This is a 1/2 teaspoon measuring, so I'll have to get a couple. About a teaspoon of salt. Luckily, this comes out much faster than is good for the table. We don't use it all. I'm trying to account for the fact half of it is coming outside. I probably got way too much. Then a 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper. We might have pretty salty sauce here. If you gotta use pepper, I like it really freshly ground, so you gotta put up with the squeezy sound. And this wasn't called for, but I always, since I grow basil in my garden, I always want to put some in, so I'm just gonna crush up some basil. These are leaves that I got out of my garden, and I just dry them for later. Oh, they smell so good. For some reason, they seem fresher when you dry them your own self, I guess. And it smells just like when you pick them off the plant. But I'll put basil in anything, just about. Oh, and when you're using like the real leaves, you need a few more than if it was a dried one, so let's just have at it. And I have this stuff that is not actually called for, but I'm trying to use it up. It's some Italian seasoning I got from a Tupperware party. So I'm using it whenever I'm making anything Italian. But that is not part of the recipe, so don't panic. I've got these down pretty well. Looks nice. So I'm gonna put in a whole can, 6-ounce can of tomato paste. And I like to let it brown a little bit with the onions and garlic, just to get a little bit of the acidity tamed. And you could put this in your food processor and blend it. Make it into a puree, the tomatoes and the tomato sauce, and all the spices too. Just for me, I like it a little more chunky. All right, now I'm gonna put in my, it calls for 2 cans of stewed tomatoes that have been blended, so I'm just using 2 cans of diced tomatoes. They're not stewed yet, but they're gonna cook for 30 minutes. I just think it gives it a fresher flavor. So it's supposed to be 2 cans, but this is just a double can. And then all of my spices. Wow, when you put them in all at once, it looks like a lot of spices. So this will need to come to a boil, and then I'll turn it down to simmer for about a half an hour. And then we'll put this on top of our loaf of chicken Parmesan. And I'm also gonna use it for the spaghetti sauce for the side spaghetti. So, because it makes quite a bit. And we only need about a cup for our loaf. So let's take a short break while this cooks down. And when we come back, we're gonna ground up our own chicken breast and make our chicken Parmesan loaf.
Seems like the world is always changing. And like the weather in Kansas, change is inevitable. Mobile technology improves the lives of everyone, not just those living in a city. Nex-Tech Wireless is right there with you, providing expanded LTE coverage for everything from phones to farm equipment. We are devoted to help Kansas work smarter and live better. Nex-Tech Wireless. Time for something different.
At Rogers & Associates Insurance, we serve the Midwest. We offer home, auto, commercial, and farm insurance policies and provide solid options for life and health insurance. For those unexpected life events like hail, wind, deer crashes, fender benders, and the little things in between, we can help you ensure what matters most in your life. Let us help you design a plan that meets your needs and budget. Visit us online or call us at 1-800-569-0118 to learn more.
Okay, welcome back. We're ready to put together our loaf of chicken Parmesan. So I need to do more. Seems like everything has onions and garlic in it. So I'm using only about a couple tablespoons of olive oil. And I'm just gonna saute about a cup of onion and 3 cloves of garlic. And as always, I'm gonna, this is the 3rd cup measuring, so I'll fill that 3 times for our onion. Nope, I'm not adding extra just to use it. Okay. Did you see me consider it? I'm like, should I just pour it all in? No. So I'm able to do this whole recipe. That was just 1 medium to large onion for both the sauce and this loaf. Okay, so garlic now. I need 3 cloves of garlic. There we go. I like to get the dry stuff off, or else I hate how it sticks in my press. So and I'm too lazy to look for the little cleaner. I'm gonna have, these are fairly small cloves, so I'm gonna put in 1 extra. Ooh. These garlics smell like pits. Yuck. Let's cook them down so they're better. I've got garlic skin everywhere. And just a little bit of salt and pepper as usual. And now the fun part, my KitchenAid at home stand mixer came with a meat grinder. So this is an opportunity to use it. Mostly I only use it for ham salad. So it's exciting that I'm gonna put real meat through it. I do sometimes too, if you have like chunks of steak or something. So I just attach it to the front of the KitchenAid, turn it on, and then I've got about 1.5 pounds of chicken here. And I do not like these strings that they sneak on there sometimes, so I'm gonna clip those off. My hands are gross. Oh. What are those tendons or something that go on there? Grosses me out. Oh, they stuck to that one. Yeah. I love to cut chicken with scissors. I'm gonna just shout out to my friend Kathy, who was the first person I ever saw cut chicken with scissors. Kathy Berg. Look what you taught me, girl. It's so easy. Okay, so now we made, I didn't want to buy ground chicken because I wanted all breast. Because when you get a chicken parmesan, it's breast meat. So this is my explanation. Whew. Now, my onions and garlic are all sauteed, so those can go in. Some people might suggest putting it through twice when you're using a ground meat, but I kind of like the chunks of it. I did consider it, but I liked it. It's ground enough. It's ground enough to make a loaf. Now, you need to put in about 1 cup of breadcrumbs. In our house, we always have rice checks on hand, and I started using rice checks instead of bread because my niece is gluten-free. And so now I use it all the time, even if she's not gonna eat with us, because we have them on hand and they're super crispy. So this is a 1/4 cup. So I need about 1 cup of breadcrumbs, and mine are actually crushed rice checks. Then just a 1/4 cup of milk and an egg. And then we'll do some seasonings. Which one of them is a couple tablespoons of parsley. And do you know what? I'm just gonna guess it. But I need to put some of that in my sauce too, and it's probably about almost done, and I'm gonna put in 4 tablespoons of parsley in this. And we're guessing a little. So 4 tablespoons about. Good time to remember it when you're putting it in the other one. Now we need a little bit of salt, about a half a teaspoon of salt. There's my measuring spoon. And I don't want to skimp on that because you do need some flavor in it, and that's where you're going to get most of your flavor. A little bit of black pepper, about a quarter teaspoon. Some we already had in the onions, so don't get too crazy. And not in the recipe that I like to add, again, is the basil and the Italian seasoning. So this has crushed red pepper flakes in it, so I like that. Give it a little bit of pizzazz. And of course, I'm not digging into the basil now that my hands are possibly chicken laden. So I'm going to mix that up pretty good. And then add a couple tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. That would be actually, these are only a half teaspoon, so don't count. It's just a couple tablespoons. Parmesan cheese. And then I have my loaf pan drying, so I'm going to go get it from the drying area. Yummo. It smells really good. I have heated up the oven to about 400 degrees. And the new oven here, there's a brand new one. It is exactly the same buttons as mine at home, so I knew exactly what to do on the first try. Okay, here's my loaf pan. I'm going to spray it pretty good with some Pam. And then I'll put about a little over half of this into the pan. And we're going to stuff it with mozzarella cheese. And when we bake this, we're going to bake it about an hour, and we want to make sure it gets all the way to 165 degrees so that the chicken is safe to eat. And then we'll make some crumb topping to put on top of it. So it will be more like the chicken parmesan we're used to eating at Olive Garden. Or Giorgio's. That's what my friend Nancy and I always got at Giorgio's in Hutch, which I miss so much. Nancy and Giorgio's, which is gone. This is supposed to be about 6 ounces of cheese. Of course, it comes in an 8-ounce brick, so we might have some extra. I kind of like it a little burnt or browned on top too, so I might put the extra on top. That was a nice thick one. Okay, I'm going to cover it with the rest of our mix. And this is going to fill this pan pretty full. They're noisy. So seal that pretty good. We don't want it to fall apart when you cut it out. I'm going to smooth it out. Now the great thing about chicken Parmesan loaf as opposed to meatloaf is that I got chicken breast meat. There won't be all that grease to drain off. It'll be very lean and nice. Okay, so I need to put a cup of my sauce on top, and then I'm going to stick it in the oven at 400 for about an hour. And this is how our sauce is looking after we've been cooking it a while. Looks pretty awesome. I'll just put a cup of sauce on top, add some more cheese, and I'll stick it in the oven. And when we come back, we'll plate it up. Hi, welcome back. While our meatloaf is in the oven, I'm gonna prepare some breadsticks that I'll stick in at the end. Now these breadsticks only have to cook at about 375, which is 25 degrees less than the meatloaf. So when it's done, I'll just turn it down and let these cook about 15 minutes, I'd say. Then for the topping for the meatloaf, I also need to brown some breadcrumbs or rice Chex crumbs as I use, and let that cool because we put Parmesan cheese in it, and if we add the Parmesan cheese in while it's hot, it will just melt together even though it's powder. So I'm using, this recipe calls for about a cup of Greek yogurt and a cup of self-rising flour. I'm not 100% sure this is 1 cup, so I know it's equal parts, so I just fill the self-rising flour into the cup as much as was in their yogurt. And then I need a little extra to roll it out. Now I am going to use the dough hook and just let that go on its own. That is super easy. We don't have to let it raise or anything, but I'll roll it out here when it's a ball. In the meanwhile, I've got a head of garlic and 2 tablespoons of butter sitting here browning. And I need to also brown the breadcrumbs. So I need probably a half a cup of breadcrumbs. Yeah, I might need to get a few more. So then I'll just brown these and let them cool. Is this on? I had it on and then I turned it off. So I'll let these brown a little bit and then let them cool. While this mixes a little, I'm gonna take another really short break, and when this is done, I'll show you how I roll it out. Okay, so that didn't take very long, and we've got our dough ball already. So it is pretty sticky. Good thing I got some flour on here, but you don't have to let this raise or knead it or anything. Thank you, Kevin, for the idea. We're just gonna press it out into, and you can use your hands. I do sometimes use a roller if I get tired, but we're just gonna roll it into about a 5 by 10 inch square. And then I'm gonna sprinkle them with a little garlic salt, which I also am gonna put a little garlic salt in my toasted crumbs. Look at my toasty crumbs, they're so nice and brown. We're just letting them cool so we can add the Parmesan and parsley. About 3 tablespoons of Parmesan and 2 tablespoons of parsley. But let's not get confused. For this one, we're gonna put in garlic salt, and I like to sprinkle them. It wasn't in the original recipe, but I like to put a little Parmesan cheese on this too. So, easy peasy, spread it out, And we're not going to stick it in the oven until the other is done because the meatloaf will need to rest. But I'm going to sprinkle it with a little bit of garlic salt. Oops, you know what I forgot? I was supposed to spray it with Pam. Do you think it will matter if I go in the wrong order? I hope not, because that's plenty of salt. I didn't see it fly off when I blew it. Now I'm going to make about 10. So first in half, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That worked pretty good. They're not all the exact same size, but we're going for easy here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, that's a nice little fatty. Okay, so that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna sprinkle on some Parmesan cheese right before I put it in the oven. And we won't come back until we're ready to plate. So know that I'm going to add Parmesan cheese and parsley to this and put it on top of the meatloaf after it has rested. So when we come back, it'll be time to eat.
Your home's exterior is the best defense against harsh weather conditions. With insulated vinyl siding, energy-efficient windows, spray foam insulation, and metal roofing from AquaShield Roofing and Construction, you can protect your home from howling winds and ice-cold temperatures. Don't let Mother Nature interfere with the comfort of your home. Call or visit us online today for a free estimate. AquaShield Roofing and Construction. Our team is dedicated to your complete satisfaction.
Okay, welcome back. We have let this cool for a bit and I have gotten the breadsticks out and they're nicely browned. And I made some spaghetti and I'm going to use the same marinara for a sauce for the spaghetti. And we did not do it on camera, but we put a half cup of white wine in it as soon as we went off camera. So that has been cooking in there. And here is, I put some cheese, the rest of the cheese on top. And here is our breadstick, our breadcrumb mixture. So remember it had butter and garlic. I put a little bit of garlic salt in, some ground up Chex, and Parmesan cheese and parsley. So that gives us the little crunch that you like with your Parmesan, chicken Parmesan. So I'm gonna put those on, spread them out. And now the challenge of getting out the first piece. It's always hardest. I'm gonna try and get one out of the middle because of the cheese. We wanna see how that turned out. And I'm getting crumbs everywhere. Wish me luck. Where's my thing? Notice no grease. Oh yeah, that's not too bad, not too bad. Look at that nice cheesiness. Yum. How about that? That cheese pouring out of the middle, and see how it looks like, it looks pretty good like chicken with seasoning in it. It looks like real chicken instead of ground chicken. And I'm gonna give it a taste. It's probably pretty hot. So much flavor. It is amazing. I am not a fan of meatloaf, but if it can taste like this, I would eat this probably 3 days a week. It's pretty good. And the wine in the sauce makes it seem like it has a lot more complexity of flavor in the marinara sauce. Look at that, I'm gonna make a mess. Very good. The breadstick is good for as easy as it is, but it's no Olive Garden. So, but I'd definitely give this a try. It wasn't too hard, and if you buy the ground chicken already, it would be pretty easy to put together. And it's very tasty. So try this while we're gone, and you join us next time on Local Flavor.